And welcome back to the Water Pavilion here at COP26. We are live and direct from Glasgow, some of us in 3D, a lot of you virtually, but we're really pleased to have you here with us. Today's focus is on finance, and I'm really pleased to be able to introduce this current session, which is titled the Resilient Water Accelerator, Ensuring Resilience and Comprehensive Water Security for the Most Climate Vulnerable. And it gives me a great honour to introduce Tim Wainwright, the Chief Executive and very hard worker, leader of WaterAid. Over to you, Tim.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate. It's great to be working with the Climate Champions team. As Kate said, I'm Tim Wainwright. I'm the Chief Executive of WaterAid, and we're part of the task team on the Resilient Water Accelerator. And that's also one of the initiatives as part of His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales Sustainable Markets Initiative. So welcome to you all, physically here and online. And we're also, WaterAid is a core partner in the Water Pavilion here at COP, and this is actually the first time that a COP has had a Water Pavilion, and I hope it's not the last, because of course water is absolutely central to both mitigation and adaptation to climate change. We all know that water security is fundamental to any community's resilience to climate. And we also know that those who did the least to cause climate change, particularly those in the poorest countries in the world, are already have for many years actually been feeling greater and greater impacts from climate change. So it's a matter of climate justice that we do as much as we can with these countries to adapt, to support them to adapt to climate change. So here at COP, we're all here to make a difference. But how do you make a difference? It's all about money. It's all about where the finance goes and getting the finance to the right places. Nothing happens without a change in how finance is delivered. And all too often, we see in those parts of the world, think about a watershed in one of the poorest parts of the world, in the Niger Delta or somewhere else, where big climate impacts are having an impact on some very vulnerable, very poor communities. And no one is in place to monitor or manage this. Climate impacts are not even reported. And major climate disasters, the funding available is moving far too slowly to reach those in need. So today is about a solution to this. Today is a solution and a call for action. We're going to talk you through an update on the Resilient Water Accelerator, launched earlier this year by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. And the objective of the Resilient Water Accelerator is to speed up and to increase finance aimed at the most climate vulnerable in the world, building resilience, building water security, to support them to live with the world we are living in today and will be living in tomorrow. It's also great to be here at the first time today that WaterAid's been leading sessions at a UN climate conference. So for WaterAid, this is also a really big deal. We're very delighted to be here. So enough from me. I'd love to hand over now to Tove, who will be moderating this session. Thank you, Tove.
Thank you very much, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks to WaterAid and partners of the Resilient Accelerator for their work supporting the Water Pavilion from the very start. One of the partners of the accelerator is the Dutch government, and our first speaker is Henk Ovink, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Henk is an inspirational figure in the growing water and climate community, but more importantly has been part of building the transformational solutions for water challenges connected to climate change impacts, such as the responses to Hurricane Sandy that hit New York City in 2012. Henk, it would be great to hear from you what role the water community can play in mitigating and adapting to climate change and how that links to finance.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be part of the launch of the Resilient Water Accelerator. I think this is one of the highlights of this COP. Our climate is changing at an alarming rate, and water plays a critical role. in both the way climate change manifests itself, often through water. It's making it even harder for the world's poorest people to get clean water. More frequent and extreme flooding is polluting fragile water sources. Longer droughts are drying up springs. The World Meteorological Organization says the world is seriously behind schedule in ensuring sustainable water management and access for all. Richer countries promised 9% more funding for water sector management between 2015 and 2019. But when it came to actually delivering the funds, that increase never happened. And yet we know that investment in better water management is key in the fight against climate change. It is about understanding water's potential. It means fully grasping that with adequate water, we have better health, less migration, more food security, and more effective climate mitigation and adaptation. In order to realize that, we must adapt to the changes. But change will be tough, simply because we need a systemic approach to change. It requires a different mindset and a different approach to dealing with interest. Adapt now means change on all fronts. It means integration of stakes and challenges we are faced with. It means inclusion, long-term thinking. It means working on innovation. It means a total overhaul of our current systems. And water can be the catalyst for that change. Why? Because water can connect the interests and stakes by nature. The Water Accelerator can facilitate that change. Designing adaptation through water, accelerating it and scaling it up, together with the people on the ground, for their and our resilient future. Ensuring water security, sustainable, resilient water resources and services is the best way to address climate vulnerability and inequalities to reduce the impacts of climate change for communities, natures and economies to thrive. As we look forward to the 2023 UN Conference on Water, co-hosted by the Netherlands and Tajikistan, we must remember that improving water stewardship has many different faces, but dependency on water is a common thread linking humanity. I wish you best of success this COP and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, Henk. It's great to get that global perspective. I would now like to turn more to the local and national perspective by hearing from Hasin Jahan, who is Country Director for WaterAid Bangladesh. Welcome to this session.
Thank you.
Could you please share with us what climate change looks like in Bangladesh and what is needed for resilience there?
Thank you, Tovi. In fact, when we talk about the words, we hear the words resilience, adaptation. It might seem like little academic for many parts of the world, but it is not the same for us. I mean, for Bangladesh. For Bangladesh, climate change is a reality. And you know that due to climate change, what happens? Actually, the frequency and intensity both are increasing, and the natural disasters are increasing, like droughts, floods, and other extreme weather events. All of these are putting pressure on water security and making a threat to water security. As an engineer and from my experience, I can suggest that what should not be dealt alone. What should be integrated with water resource management as a whole and seen it in a comprehensive way. So that is very important, and I'm really happy to see that RWA is looking this holistically and they are adopting a multi-sectoral approach, which I really appreciate. Now comes that how this initiative can be made functional or operational. We definitely need money for it. And from where the money will come. We have heard a lot about the $100 billion per year. So I personally think that that money should arrive as soon as possible. And that money should be diverted to the most vulnerable people to make them resilient. That is very important. And not only from that money, I think private sector can also come and join up our hands. So I really think like that. Apart from that, I personally think, and I want to highlight one point here as a woman. I know that women and girls are the worst sufferer from climate change. So they should be in our thought, our words, and our actions. So climate finance should be diverted for adaptation and exclusively for water security. That's my intention and my hope. And nevertheless, you asked me to learn about Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, climate change is visible. In the coastal belt, people are suffering from not having drinkable water because of salinity. In hilly areas, the streams are drying up. In western areas, desertification has already started. So I am happy that RWA will look into this type of scenarios and they will try to address the problem of these areas or problem of this context. And most importantly, this is not investment for water. In return, it will remit you in different form, like children will be able to go to school, people will get the healthcare facility services, and most importantly, women will be empowered. And I am really looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience and knowledge, Hassan. It's very useful. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Louise Ellis, who is the Water Risk and Resilience Lead at Arup, a global engineering firm. Welcome, Louise. She is with us virtually, as you can see. Some might be surprised to see an engineering firm promoting the value of nature, but I understand that Arup has been leading in this area for recent years. Would you please share your thoughts on how nature, and particularly freshwater systems such as wetlands, are part of water resilience?
Thank you, Tove. It's an honour to be part of the launch of the Resilient Water Accelerator at the Water Pavilion at COP26. By using nature's own systems in our design, we can strengthen the climate resilience of our communities, reducing the risk of drought and flooding, improving water quality, and bringing wider benefits for communities. These benefits can be wide-ranging and include things such as reducing the heat island effect, improving air quality, and improving health and well-being. Many nature-based solutions are also carbon sinks, helping to achieve mitigation ambitions, particularly if they're protected and maintained. Nature-based solutions can take a variety of forms, including upland catchment management, such as protecting the fynbos in the upland catchments for Cape Town from alien invasive species, to protect more of Cape Town's freshwater resources, as well as things like natural flood management in the upland catchments in the River Hull, protecting the city from flooding in the UK. They can also include things like sustainable urban drainage systems, like urban bioswales in cities like New York and Shanghai, improving water quality in many of the urban watercourses, as well as rainscape solutions, like in my hometown of Cardiff, to address pollution and flooding. Tove, you mentioned wetlands, and coastal wetlands such as mangroves in Miami and the constructed wetlands on the East River in New York City provide additional protection from hurricane storm surges as well. Over the past 3 years, we've worked with 11 cities around the world, including Cape Town, Miami, Hull, and Addis Ababa, using the city water resilience approach to develop their water resilience action plans. The city water resilience approach is a participatory approach to bring kind of base and stakeholders together to understand the different resilient shocks and stresses they face, understand their current resilience capacity, and develop a shared action plan. And we've seen some of the ambitions and challenges shared by these cities and their catchments. Every city we've engaged with to date has ambitions to harness nature-based solutions and regenerate the land in their catchments to deliver improved mitigation and water adaptation and resilience. Yet many of these cities face the challenges of developing the enabling environment for nature-based solutions. Implementing nature-based solutions requires an adaptation to the traditional infrastructure planning and delivery approach, because the benefits are much wider and it impacts and touches on many sectors. For example, urban regeneration, the health sector, and the energy sector. Examples of how it needs an adaptive approach include, at a policy level, having policies that prioritize and make space for nature. At a governance level, it may require collaboration between multiple stakeholders. For example, different government departments, highways, parks, recreation, water utilities, agriculture, and communities. At a decision-making level, it may mean having the decision support frameworks that take account of the value of natural capital or ecosystem services and social capital on an equal footing to that of the manufactured built capital of grey infrastructure schemes, so that nature-based solutions are funded both for their delivery, but also for their operations and maintenance. And at a funding level, it may mean navigating the complex landscape of co-funding of schemes between different parties and stakeholders. But these challenges are not insurmountable, and nature-based solutions must be a core part of the menu of approaches moving forward to improve water security in the face of climate emergency in both the global north and the global south. The most climate vulnerable communities are the world's poorest. These countries need comprehensive support to improve their water resilience. And this includes assistance to secure vital climate finance, as well as to help analyse their watersheds, deliver visions shared by their catchment stakeholders, and develop compelling proposals for programmes of work. This holistic approach is one of the reasons that Arup supports the accelerator and is very delighted to be part of the task team. Thank you very much, Toby.
Thank you so much, Louise. As those three speakers have explained so powerfully, not only is water crucial to climate resilience, but the different aspects, whether to human consumption, for the economy, or to preserve fragile habitats, are all in themselves essential and complex. We need to urgently channel resources to this work, and so it's my pleasure to introduce Andrew Pitts-Tucker from Apex Group Investment. He is the global lead for ESG, or Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance, which means looking at investments that are good for both companies and investors, but for a sustainable lens with attention to social and environmental factors. Andy, could you please share a bit about why ESG matters and what it looks like for those tuning in that might not know so much about it?
The introduction. It's a huge pleasure to be talking at this event today, and a real privilege. This is certainly the first time Apex has had the opportunity to talk at any COP conference, so thank you very much. I joined the Apex Group 2.5 years ago to set up the ESG business. Prior to that, I spent about 24 years in the financial markets and about 4 years as a conservation consultant. Now, the Apex Group is a financial services organization. Our clients are investment managers and they are financial institutions. You may be wondering why a financial services provider is at an event like this. Well, we feel very strongly that everybody has a part to play, and we're here representing private companies and we're here representing the financial services industry. We may not have a relatively large environmental footprint, and we may have a relatively limited way that we can change the dial on climate change, but we can still do our bit. And there's 3 ways we go about it at Apex, which I'd like to share with you. Number one, we as an organization are changing internally. We recently set up a sustainability committee that is taking a long, hard look at our internal processes. We're putting in place new policies, new programs, which is incredibly exciting, and we're going to be improving our social and environmental footprint. We also work very closely with our 5,000 plus employees. We educate and offer guidance on what they can do so they can take this message home. Secondly, because we don't move that dial as much as we would like, we partner with organizations such as WaterAid. And we're so excited to be participating in the Resilient Water Accelerator. It's a fantastic program, and we are certain that Apex and WaterAid are going to have a long-lasting relationship focusing on it. We also partner with other organisations such as the Eden Reforestation Project. By the end of this year, we are going to have planted in excess of 200,000 trees as part of our positive impact. Sports. A lot of discussion at the moment about how sports and sustainability are linked. And most recently, we're very proud to announce a partnership with the West Indies cricket team. And we are their sustainability partner, and we're looking forward to the journey that we're going to take together to help them become the first international sports team to achieve carbon neutrality. But thirdly, and possibly the most important role for us, is to work with our clients. We have over 6,000 clients who are investment managers in some shape or form. Those investment managers, they invest in companies, and it's those companies that we need to change. The way we operate is this, and this is the ESG business that I manage. We work with the investment manager and we collect the relevant data, the ESG data on those underlying companies. Now, to put it in context, under the environmental piece, part of the data we collect is environmental footprint. So it's greenhouse gas emissions, it's waste production, and it's water consumption. Very topical for this moment. Once we've collected that data, for each company, we look at how they compare to the best-in-class global standards. We don't blacklist them if they're not achieving those best standards, but what we do is we help them and we write recommendations on how they can improve. So in essence, we work with the investment manager and their underlying companies that they're invested in, and we create a roadmap for improvement. It's very important to us at Apex that we're playing our part, and it's not just up to the policymakers, the politicians, and the charities to do the work. We have to play our part, and so I'm here as a representative of all private companies and financial services providers in the financial services sector, that we all need to really step up and get involved in order to align with the much needed changes that we need to make. But I'd just like to say a huge thank you to WaterAid for giving me the opportunity to be up here on stage representing the Apex Group. Thank you very much indeed.
Resilient Accelerator, its ambition to boost water security for 50 million people over the next decade. This session has shown the power of bringing together NGO, finance, governments to address global challenges, and that all share the same agenda. At COP26, we have already seen a change in focus and a realization that much more needs to be done. And people are pleased to hear about initiatives like the Accelerator, which does not shy away from this challenge and emergency. I would like to encourage all of you to get in touch with the Resilient Water Accelerator team and even try to seek them out here at COP to hear more about the work and how you can get involved. To secure the investment required to meet the urgent needs of vulnerable communities, the water sector must work with the financial sector to secure private investment and develop sustainable financial models for water services. And with that, I wish to close this session. Thank you all for coming and have a great day.
Thank you. Can I take this from you? Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Take that one back.
Can I put it here?
Thank you, Hassan.
Very good.
Should I keep this mic here?
Yes.
Well, that's always good.
Hi Hank, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I should be good. Alex, how are you?
I'm good. Mario,